Hi, everybody. I'm here with Jakob, Wolter, and we're going to be talking about recruiter enablement. So, Jakob, first thing I want to say is I'm not sure if you're a cycling fan, but I'm a big Tour de France fan. And big congratulations to Denmark on Jonas winning his second Tour de France. Vingegaard?
Yeah, that's good enough. You can work with
that. I'm based in France over summer, and we went to watch a couple of the stages of the Tour de France, and I love that guy, and I love the Tour de France. So well done, Denmark.
Thank you.
So, okay, we're going to talk recruiter enablement. So first of all, Jakob, just give me a quick introduction on yourself. Just tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Sure. I'm the Senior Director of Global Talent Acquisition at LEO Pharma. So a Danish company focusing very much on skin conditions and patients for that. I think we have 100 million patients around the world, actually. So that's what I've done. I'm doing. I've been with the company for almost 1.5 years. Previously I was with Novo Nordisk, also doing some TA work there for the past 5, 6, 7 years. So that's about me.
Okay, we're going to be talking recruiter enablement. What's recruiter enablement to you? And I know you've got a specific angle that you want to talk about on this subject, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, sure. So for me, it's where this job moves beyond putting bums in seats. I think we have so much more knowledge and impact to deliver to the business than just getting the reqs filled. And to be honest, there's too many places still in the TA space where that's the primary objective, and I think it probably will be that, yes, but I think there's so much more, and you can do that with data. I've been doing that a lot, just giving knowledge to the business about what they're actually trying to do and where they are and what kind of targets they're aiming at and all that. We have a lot of knowledge that nobody else has, but there's also different parts of it that kind of starts to emerge. We recently launched some. You can call it culture directions. We call it Winning Behaviours in the organization, and it's part of the bigger transformation of LEO Pharma. So LEO Pharma has been, over the past couple of years, really trying to change the way they work and also the way they do business. And the problem is, usually when you do that there's a big culture element to that as well. So you need to do things in different ways. And it's still, 5,000 people we are, and it's not easy to just shift. And at least with a bit of direction from top management, and they found out, where are the gaps? And I think they're actually pretty spot on. Sometimes it's like, self-evident stuff or something that's already happening. But I think this time they found 3 areas where everybody agrees, yeah, we should probably be different here, do something else. We in TA kind of caught that ball and say, all right, so when we hire, can we then hire towards these elements as well? And make sure that we can support the leaders when they decide between candidates, at least have a discussion with them, which person fits well into those culture pieces and which candidates won't fit as well. And I think that is a super interesting task that we've just started on.
Okay, so winning behaviors. Are you able to talk about, like, outside of your organization, what those winning behaviors are?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it's very high level. So it's about prioritizing. So we need to be better at that. We haven't been very good at that. Everybody in this organization would agree, I think. Figuring out what's most important, go for that. It's very much about collaborating across the silos. And then the last thing is about taking more accountability of the issues you see. I think one of the big pitfalls for LEO has been that we've been operating very much as a huge company, and we're really not. And we're trying to get a little bit back to being a mid-sized company and operating as such. And one of those things is about, you see an issue, you go talk to that person that's responsible for the issue, you work it out together, find a solution and move on. And that hasn't really happened. So, taking accountability is the last one. And I think getting those 3 things in place with the new people we're hiring around 800 people a year. So you could say that over a maybe 5, 6, 7 year period, we're basically replacing the entire company. So it's not that big of a horizon. And if we hire towards getting the right people with the right mindset, we're actually going to have quite an impact on the culture.
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely. So okay, so there's a number of different stakeholders involved here. Are you that I'm going to give a couple of suggestions around things that you might be doing, and you can tell me if this is right or not. So you could be enabling candidates by telling them what your winning behaviors are so that they know how to present themselves in the right type of way. You could be enabling your recruiters, of course, with immersion around the winning behaviors so that they know what to look for. And I guess the same with hiring managers. So what are the tactical things that you've done to, or you're planning to do to kind of land this all?
So the first thing we did, so in Denmark at least, there's a big tradition for using personality testing. We do that as well, and in handful at least of other countries that we operate in. So the first thing we did was to contact our provider and say, can we do something in our tests so we can measure the amount of fit with these behaviors? And that wasn't that hard, to be honest. There's some very fundamental things that goes on with people that are very collaborative, for instance, and you can measure that in a personality test. So what we do now is that when we go to a hiring manager on the intake meeting, discuss the role, then they will give some criteria of what they're looking for the role, and we'll note that down, and you will get that as part of the personality test, not as a criteria for hiring the person or not, but as information for the discussion we're going to have, right? So they might be looking for someone who's super good at driving an agenda, right? And you get someone who's only half good at that. Then we discuss, can we compensate for that somehow? Or do you have someone else in the team that can step in and help if there's an issue? All that stuff. We now also can do that on the winning behaviors. So we simply get like a score card for that, where you say, all right, pretty low here, pretty high here. You can definitely expect this. Probably can't expect this. What do we do about that? Is that a showstopper, or is it something we can compensate for? And I think that dialogue is super, super important. And I think giving that to the organization is something new. We're seeing the first reactions to it. People are very, very excited to suddenly be able to have that kind of strategic choice when they hire a person and figure out, how do they fit in with the team and how do we work together as a group? Because people are not perfect and nobody has everything, but you can definitely, if you have 10 people, right? Mix it up so that you have all the strengths present and make sure that you can do things as a group, maybe, and not so much as individuals.
Right. Okay. So this takes it into another area, which is around like group dynamics and things like that. So you've got like scores or whatever it might be for all the other team members that person's going to be going and working with. And then it's almost like a graphic equalizer. When you're making music, all the different bits need to kind of like, okay.
But
right.
It's not math, right? I mean, this is people. So what we have is, and I've always argued like, so when you have a personality test like that, it's not a test. It's basically, it's an assessment, right? And you get some insights. They might even be wrong because people filled it in weirdly or whatever. So it's basis for a conversation. But at least we probably have to discuss this, right? We probably have to figure out, how good are you actually to take accountability, because this role will be seeing a lot of issues maybe, and we need someone who's ready to pick up the ball and run with it when they see something, right? And if that's the situation and that person is scoring super low on that parameter, we have a discussion, right? We need to talk, and I think that's important. And it might be that it's fine and they compensate and whatever, and we see a lot of those situations, but without the conversation, we would never know. And I think that's cool.
And do these winning behaviors, because this is a really interesting concept, because your company's identified we need more of this in our business, so we're going to kind of like set out this is what we want to aspire to. Is this an alternative to values, or is it separate to values? Does your company also have values?
Yeah. So It's a good question. I think they're probably overlapping a little bit. This is a little bit more operational, right? This is stuff we're workshopping around. So every team will workshop these behaviors and say, well, how do they, how do they look with us? The values are more, settled in a sense, right? And you can say, we should always aspire to X, Y, and Z. I think here they will come in different shape and sizes depending on the team. More important some places, less important this place, and it's up for local interpretation to figure it out. But I like the process that you say, we need to exhibit more of this. And it's as soon as it becomes behavior and not value, you can measure it in a test as well, which is also cool.
Yeah, the other thing, I think your values, by the time you're about, I don't know, I have no idea, maybe by the time you're maybe 30 years old or something, your values are kind of fixed as well, and you shouldn't have to change those. But winning behaviors, you can go and aspire to. I need to be more collaborative. I can personally work on that.
Yeah, definitely. And you can discuss those and figure out what would it take for you to be more this, right? What do we need to supply you with if we're asking you to actually be more, take more responsibility for the stuff you find of issues? Do we need to push you in some situations, or do we need to support you in different ways? All of that, right? You can have discussions with, and I think that's also cool for a candidate to know they're actually going to ask this of me. So how does that fit with what I want out of a job? It's always been, recruitment has always been for me a little bit like dating, right? You kind of have to, both parties need to be happy here. And I think that's a big part of what we do as well, to figure out, can we get everybody to agree that this is a good match, right?
I wonder if this gives you a more tangible link between the work your team is doing and the success of the organization. Because this is something that I think a lot of talent acquisition teams would love to be able to show is, well, our work contributed 5% of the additional profitability uplift that we had over the last 12 months, that type of thing. Because winning behaviors is something that is a lot more tangible than values, for example, and a lot more easy to link to operational effectiveness. But something to think about.
At least you can see the people walking around, right? The officers, and suddenly being these people that you thought they would be, right? And delivering things in the organization. I think that's always been the big sale of doing in-house teams, that you actually see the effect of what you're doing very, very tangibly. And the managers get to know you really well, because they will, last time we hired this, right? And we did this wrong and we got this right. And what do we do? And next time, and so forth. And those teams, I mean, you built them for them, right? Together with the managers. And I think obviously the deeper conversations we have and the more sparring we do together with the managers in those selection processes, the more you feel responsible. I guess that's right. But it's an interesting exercise to go beyond just, here's a great candidate with a nice CV, and then actually being part of the true discussion about which of these candidates are going to fit what you need. And when you say this guy, why on earth are you saying that? Because this guy fits the bill so much better, right? And that discussion is also nice to have. I mean, back to the whole bias thing, I think that's where it actually happens, right? It's in those discussions where you challenge each other, and you can only really do that when you're close and knows what you're talking about. It's way better than a course.
Yeah. Absolutely agreed. That's a very interesting take on recruiter enablement, or an aspect of it. And Jakob, many thanks for taking the time to come and join me today. I've really enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Absolutely, no worries.